Welcome back, everybody, to a new episode of the Wisemen Say podcast. Jerald's back. We missed him last week. He looks frozen, so he might be the one having trouble now. Ty Fisher alongside Jerald Lucas, Derik, Abbott. Oh, there he is. I think. I don't know.
Jerald, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
It's so delayed now. Ty Fisher alongside Jerald Lucas, Derik, Abbott. Derik, how you doing, man?
Pretty good. Making no complaints. How about you?
It's another day. Another day in paradise, obviously the same old. Jerald's back after taking a week off. My friend, how are you?
I'm still breathing.
Yes.
There you go.
That's what we like to hear. Just off the record, we do have the Miami Vancouver game on. I would assume we are all Whitecaps fans tonight, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Cool.
Born and raised.
Born and raised a Whitecaps fan. All of us are.
For one night only.
Yes. We had some people pop into the chat already. Manny says, good evening, gentlemen. What a win versus Quakes. I'm glad that we won again at home. Hopefully we can be clinical versus a tough Charlotte team. They are better than their record indicates. Clearly, and we will get more on that here shortly. Connor says, what's up, guys? And my mom says, Jerald looks so happy. Freeze frame. We wait, hold on. This is the most best happy face of all. That's the
And we see it right now.
Right.
That was the Saturday morning one, right?
I think so, yeah.
I probably stayed up too late the night before or something, who knows?
No, you probably did.
That and technical difficulties.
That and that. So, fellas, nothing too much today. Obviously, we're going to touch on the Cruise 2-1 win versus San Jose. We will have a Charlotte FC fan TV popping in about 8:45, 9 o'clock to preview this weekend matchup, a top of the East clinical matchup. And then we'll just touch on some surprising scores and news coming out of the league to wrap up the show. Obviously, we want to thank y'all for tuning in. As you can see, we have a new layout, new background, new layout, and everything like that. So all you guys can follow us on our socials right there. And our lovely little accolade over to the far left, 45th best MLS podcast, according to Million Podcast.
On the Columbus rankings, I believe that you mentioned that we were beat out by Bone and Beam United, potentially. I don't remember exactly. But they are not doing their podcast anymore with all the local radio schedule swapping that they're all doing. So we're going to get bumped up a spot, hopefully.
I can't remember what it was. I don't know if it was Bone and Beam or something else. I know that we were fourth.
Mm-hmm.
I know that we were fourth on the Columbus Crew side of things out of 5. But I think it was Aces, Soccer Speak Easy.
Oh, massive report, probably. Crap.
Yeah.
Never mind. We're not moving up. I did like Bone and Beam United, though. That was good. They mixed a lot of the European stuff in there, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. But fellas, to kick off the show, we had a very, I wouldn't even say scare, but a very interesting 2-1 win against the San Jose Earthquakes this past weekend. Bruce Arena back in the league. That's always a plus. I guess just the first thing is, the top performers of that game, right? Who would you say were the top performers of this game?
Oh, Zawatsky and Arson for sure. I mean, scoring the 2 goals, I think.
Well, yeah, besides them.
I would say Diego actually, to his credit, he couldn't buy a goal in that game, but I mean, he was trying and I give him all the credit for that because he hasn't scored in a hot second. So I felt like he really made a difference in there. Trying to think. I think everyone just played well. I don't know if anyone like outside of the people who scored a goal. Obviously, no one like really, at least from my vantage point, nobody really like shot off the page. But I don't mean that in a negative way by any means. I think that that was a good showing by us against a team that we had a lot of questions about coming into it. If they were gonna, we thought that they were definitely going to give us some trouble.
Gas Dog and Darlington. Those are the ones that played the best to me. Because Gas Dog making all those nutmegs and back heel passes. Finding Jason there with his one pass that Jason did a fadeaway shot that just went over the crossbar. Just when he drew the foul, I think that was him or Dylan that megged somebody, and as they were going around him, just got yanked to the ground. And there was no card. And we see that in any other, and another team does that, and that's a yellow card. But if it happens to Columbus, it's play on, play advantage, right? But that's a different story. But Nagby was that fulcrum that tilted the board in which way Columbus was going. Are they going left? Are they going right? Are we going to keep doing the east to west? But so those two alone, I think, played better than even Sean and Mad Max getting the goal.
Mad Max, I love that. Yeah, I mean, Nagby, anytime like we even remotely it creeps into our minds about just how long he's been playing and everything. He has these games where he just shows you how clinical he can be in his position, and it's still, you're like, I don't know how long he's got left, but let's sign him for a few more years. I could see him playing for a few more years at this level based upon what we see on every any given Saturday, which I think is amazing. You don't get that very often with peak players like that.
I think for me, I really liked how AZ came in and just kind of took control, right? Very high energy player coming off the bench. Able to find Max in the second half for that goal. He looks like somebody with a lot more confidence than what we have seen in the past, right? Better touches on the ball, better passing, being able to attack more. As Manny said, Nagby was crucial in that game. And I'm liking how he's dribbling the ball upfield more. Still got those moves. Nagby was also very key. So I agree with Jerald. Obviously, the goal scorer, Sean and Max, were definitely key in that match. Another thing, the turning points for this match, right? Obviously the goals, but I was talking to Bruce Arena after the game, and as Columbus kind of came out very possession like and kind of wanted to play fast, but San Jose really matched it with ease, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he said, yeah, that was the game plan all along. That was Columbus, that's how Columbus plays, that's how they play. So they were able to kind of match the pace of the game. Was that too fast of a pace game for you guys, or did you like that pace? Because I personally liked it.
Oh, I
loved it.
Yeah, I love that style. I love that way more than like the I know we're like, we have purposeful possession in some teams, and we've seen this in the past with previous coaches where it's purposeful possession, but then they're always constantly kicking it all the way back to the keeper. And then it's just like resetting the board again. And, you do that for a few minutes. I think even from a crowd perspective, you start to lose people a little bit because it's a long game. And I know the the pitch is long and everything, but I think when you're playing fast and aggressive and you've got two teams doing that at each other, it makes it very exciting to watch because that literally a goal or a card or anything can happen at any moment, and it keeps everyone's attention. I think you could feel that in the stadium as well, which, I mean, again, it's just, to me at least, a wild swing from what we had in Cleveland when it came to just overall atmosphere, which is to be expected. But it was noticeable when you have that big of a difference.
I mean, when you got center backs just sitting there taking a couple touches and then just bolting up the field with the ball, I mean, you're here for the chaos, right?
Yeah.
Like Steven, he played, I think that was his 100th game, or Cleveland might have been his 100th game with the Crew, San Jose. So with San Jose, that was his 100th game, in the original black and gold. But for him, just taking a couple dribbles and then just shooting like a bat out of hell straight up the middle. It's like, hold on. And then racing back to get back into position. But then also seeing San Jose, some of their back line was making runs, coming up. So, I mean, it was a ping pong game going back and forth. It's just, I think when Columbus scored that first goal, I think that sort of, I'm not going to say it broke San Jose, but after that first goal and then Columbus getting, Manuel, you're fired.
I mean, I was going to say the same thing too.
You're fired. No, but going back and forth, and when Columbus scored it sort of, I'm not going to say broke their spirits, but it sort of got them down. And then, when they got that goal back and leveled it, it was like, okay, we could play with them. But then here comes Diego with all these chances, 1v1s, 1v2s, and still getting a good shot off. And it's just, I think the goal, stretched out a little bit on a couple of his shots, but hey, he's gonna get it.
San Jose ties it up. Joseph Martinez just doing Joseph Martinez things. I would assume we all can agree with that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the defensive resiliency by the Crew after going up 2-1 from probably about 65 on to the end of the game. Absorbing the pressure from San Jose, were you guys kind of nervous in any of those moments of like, oh, hey, besides the goal being taken back, which 100% is a handball, by the way, were you guys kind of on edge with how this team has a history of not being able to close games out, especially being in the lead?
I was, because there was a couple passes that was there in that box that had me like my heart beating like, hold on, that's a little too close. And like we've seen those type of passes get capitalized on by teams. Case in point, our little sisters down 71, in 2023 with Philip Quinton and
Wait, really quick. The game ball just absolutely deflated in this game.
Oh my. I don't think I've ever heard of that happening.
Anyway, continue. Sorry. I just had to let you guys know that. That's
classic
funny.
two MLS teams playing each other.
Well, that's so CONCACAF.
You're right. Yeah.
yeah.
Right.
No, but we've seen that where just like uh Philip Quinton and Schulte down in Cincy in 2023. With passing right there, and Lucho just capitalizes on it. But I saw those passes on Saturday, and I'm like, come on now, like heart skipping a couple beats, looking at the time, like just clear the ball,
Right.
But they absorbed that pressure though.
Gives me confidence for the future too. If you see him doing it in these early games, obviously, giving us, heart palpitations in the process. But if we, I feel like if we could see them doing it now in these earlier in the season games, albeit, it again, heart palpitations, but it'll give me confidence going into bigger matchups because they had three, very potential like people capable of scoring in those situations, and the fact that we were able to hold them off gives me hope for next time we play in Miami or Charlotte or a Cincy or someone like that who are going to be at top of the table, that in those situations we can expect a little bit higher level of what we should expect, from the defense in that spot.
It ain't gonna be Atlanta, I tell you that.
No, it will not. Not
And
at all.
and all three of those teams you just mentioned, we play this month in May.
Oh, I didn't even
So,
think about that. Wow, we run the
well,
gauntlet then.
yeah,
Holy cow.
Charlotte this week. It's Cincinnati on the 17th,
Do
and
we have a week
then
off?
no, we're away next week.
Philly.
At Philly.
But
we also have who else did you say? You said
I got it right.
Charlotte, Miami. We also play Miami. I'm pretty sure this month
the two
also.
times we play them is before June.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Wow.
San Jose was last week, Charlotte this week, Philly.
I could be wrong.
Philly on the 10th. 14th is on a Wednesday. We travel to Montreal. 3 days later, we come back home for Hell is Real.
Dude, they give us a Wednesday game in Montreal before. That's
yeah.
And then
Cincinnati better have an away game on that Wednesday too. That's ridiculous.
And the 24th, we're at Charlotte.
Yeah.
28th, we come home to Nashville, and to end May, we're at Inter Miami.
Yeah.
Whoa. And you know what? I will say, trying to spin it in a positive way, at least we're getting a lot of these heavyweight matches out of the way earlier in the season. But still, like, some of these teams, this will be the second time we're playing them already. And
I mean,
having them all in a row is just crazy.
We only have one heavy hitter to play, honestly. Well, two of them in the month of June.
That's good.
We start off with Vancouver, then we're home to Atlanta, and we're home to Philly. That's our only 3 games in June.
That's brutal.
Yeah. Manning goes, what frustrates me is when we allow poor handling. Yeah, when we allow poor ball handling center backs on opposing teams to have time on the ball and then go long to speedy or strong center forwards. We can't let Charlotte go too long. We can't let Charlotte go long to Ajimang. Yes, that is absolutely true. How I would love to have Patrick Ajimang on our team would have been an absolute masterclass by Issa Tall, but we have to wait till the summer, which is fine with me. I like our team the way it is.
Yeah.
Just
Ibrahim is.
Who's that?
Oh, Ali Ibrahim.
Oh yeah.
We saw Nancy go straight to his bench 5 minutes into the second half, bringing on AZ for Jason Russell Rowe. If I'm not mistaken, I think that was the first.
Yeah, it was.
I've never seen. I mean, besides Gazdag coming in at halftime against St. Louis, I've never seen Wilfried Nancy go to his bench so early.
And I think I texted you guys about that too.
Yeah.
Like right afterwards or something like that. And I remember Jerald, I can't remember off the top of my head how you responded, but you had a different take on it than I did.
I did. I mean, it's not a bad look on Jason. It's just Bruce Arena changed up the tactics coming out of halftime. It was 1-1 coming out of halftime. And as soon as Nazi saw something, he brings in a different profile with AZ. And it just gives, it gives a different profile.
Yeah, throws a wrench
It's
in their idea right
it's
away.
not a bad look on Jason. I mean, he's not really, yes, he's a forward, but he's not a true striker.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He's a good clinical finisher when he has time, but he's not your, a full blown, straight up, I just strike the ball, right?
Yeah.
And
he's not an Erling Haaland or a like somebody whose sole purpose is to put the ball. Here's how I would compare Jason Russell-Rowe, Marcus Rashford.
Yeah.
Marcus Rashford, because yes, he scores goals, but he's also one of those guys who is your second to last option in the attack, right? To get the ball forward, to kind of hang back outside of the 18-yard box and kind of direct traffic next to the 10, which would be either Rossi or Daniel, to make sure that runs are being made on the wings and circulating the ball back and forth. That's how I view Jason.
But he can also pull a defender because everybody knows he can also score.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So if you got both him and Diego, or him and Daniel, not side by side, but in the same vicinity, that's going to pull two to three defenders that way. And if you can, get the cross off or get a pass off into that open area, you know what I'm saying? You did your job.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Being a 9 is not always about, being a striker. You know what I'm saying? Like, he is one of the best finishers that Columbus has when he's got the time. And that's just how I looked at it. AZ brought in a different profile. It's not Jason got in trouble or Jason didn't do something right. We don't know what his objectives were to start the game. But if Nazi sees something that Bruce did at halftime, changing up maybe the shape of everything, okay, go get somebody that has maybe a little more speed.
Yeah.
And go from there.
He AZ brings that chaos energy that Jason certainly does not as well, which it certainly is going to throw a wrench in any kind of, like, if you have like a precision tactical thing you're trying to do, he's going to be the one you're going up against where you're like, okay, well, this isn't really going to necessarily work when we've got this guy out here going up against us.
Jason's more methodical
than
chaos. If you want to look at it like that, he's more of a tactical, tic-tac-toe, where AZ seems to be, throw shit at the fan and see if something sticks, right? I mean, look at all the shots he took that one game.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna shoot. Something's got to stick to the back of the net, right?
Usually, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I look at it, those two together, I would love to have both of them on at the same time.
We don't get that too often, do we?
You get chaos and you get chaos attack. You'll have a tactical chaos.
I like that. I like that a lot.
This win, obviously, last week was kind of an somber asterisk next to the loss, but obviously, Crew are back in the win column. Was the loss to Miami kind of a, I don't want to say reality check, right? Because Columbus was riding a high, unbeaten heading into that match, right? And I feel like if they would have converted their chances, we would have won that match last week, right? But was last week kind of, would you say it was more like a fluke loss, or was it a reality check that now that they have suffered their first loss, now getting back of the win column will kind of propel them to stay, I'd say, between 1 and 4 in the Eastern Conference?
I'm gonna let you go, Derek.
I mean, I think
Anytime Jerald says that, he's gonna have a lot to say because he has,
he's
which is fine with me.
he's ruminating.
Which is fine with me.
No, I mean, I think that there are certainly. I mean, no, I mean, last week I said I thought that it was a bit of an anomaly to a degree, and I wasn't necessarily taking a lot from that game in particular because I didn't think, from an offensive standpoint, we necessarily played the greatest until towards the end of the game where we were starting to get shots off and everything. But I think there is that is a positive outcome from losing that game. Is you're riding on a high going into it. You lose to a really good team in and of itself, but you also, it gives you time or the ability to reflect back on like areas where you could improve upon, or to make sure that, and I don't think this would ever be the case on this team, but in general, even like you don't want people to get too overconfident about what they're doing, because that's usually when you start to trip up. So I probably gave them a chance to look at some things and different areas where they can improve. And I'm sure that they will explore those things that they've kind of learned when they play Miami at the end of the month. But, overall, I don't look at it as anything huge and polarizing for the season in and of itself, just due to the nature of that game in particular. But that's just kind of, thinking back on it, and what you kind of said, Ty.
So, Derek, you're saying that it was pretty much a fluke loss, right?
I wouldn't say fluke necessarily, as much as I could, if I could nitpick on various aspects of the whole situation that could certainly have been reasons why maybe they didn't play as well as maybe what we anticipated when we were making our predictions and stuff like that.
I will say it was a fluke loss.
Oh, okay. I didn't expect you to go there with it.
It was a fluke loss because honestly, both teams matched up really well. And if you could keep the greatest soccer player in the world in your hip pocket and not allow him to do anything, yeah, he had a couple of chances. So did Denny Bwanga in Leagues Cup and MLS Cup. Look who had him in his pocket. But the way that the defense put clamps on Messi, nobody else on that team had any chance to hurt Columbus. It was the way that cross came in.
I was going to say, except Benjamin Kramaski.
I hate that guy. He's my John Tolkien.
I love Kramaski.
No, but except for the way that cross came in for that header, which I believe that was off of a set piece. It wasn't.
No, I think it was run to play, wasn't it?
Either way, crosses into the box have hurt Columbus the last few years.
Yeah, absolutely.
And having a player like Kramaski that can take advantage of those to be able to head them, it's the only thing that hurt Columbus. Other than that, stat-wise, Columbus had better stats. Columbus had better possession. It was literally Columbus matched Messi and company. So it to me, honestly, it was a fluke loss. The better team that day lost. And I will say that, our friends down in Fort Lauderdale, can can watch this and argue with me, pull it up, whatever. But the better team lost that day up in Cleveland. All it did was a slap in the face to Columbus, and now Columbus is pissed off. So watch out.
Ooh, love it. There's nothing I love more than when I go on a family vacation with my in-laws every summer, and we go to like roughly the same city in Florida, but we fly into Fort Lauderdale, and every time we have to drive there, we drive by the Miami Stadium where they play at, and it is nowhere near Miami. And I always just take a picture of it and send it to my friends, and I'm like, the Fort Lauderdale, and they're not even really by Fort Lauderdale if you like look at it on a map. I mean, it's still not even, I mean, maybe it's considered that, but there are a lot of areas in between there too. That's a total aside, but I just that made me immediately think of that.
Oh no, yeah, no, it's not Miami. It's not. It's
no, not at all.
I can't remember like the actual place it's in, but it's like a suburb of Fort Lauderdale. I think it is
Cocoa Beach.
Is that what it is?
I believe it's Cocoa Beach.
Yeah,
Chase, isn't it Chase something or other?
Chase Stadium.
I thought it was Dry Pink.
Nah, Dry Pink was 2 years ago.
Oh.
It changed to Chase Stadium in 24, and then they have Freedom Park opening in 26, I think.
Let me see.
That's in Miami.
Yeah, Freedom Park's Miami. I can't remember what New York's is, but that's I think like 26 or 27.
It's literally smack dab in between Fort Lauderdale and Pompano Beach.
That's what it is.
Yeah, if you take the interstate straight 870 Commercial Boulevard, you'll literally run into the Fort Lauderdale by the Sea like pier. Which is funny because I literally stayed there like 2 years ago for a family vacation. So I was closer to their stadium than I was Miami.
Nice. Any last final thoughts about this win? 2-1 win over the San Jose Earthquakes.
San Jose didn't even have Hernan Lopez.
No.
To go alongside with Martinez, and that would have been even scarier though for Columbus. That would have been a test. Having those two together. Don't get me wrong. Joseph Martinez, could do his thing. That's King Joseph, right? It's hard to, it's hard to put clamps on him.
Mm-hmm.
But I think those two together, if they all start getting on the same page, San Jose is going to be a team to watch for in the West. But other than that, both teams played open. And Nasi did say that, playing, he didn't really want to play open, but that's just how the game was being dictated. And I think, like I said, that's why, AZ came in. Because the profile of the game changed. So,
Derik, anything from you?
No, I just thought it was a good win. I mean, we got points in the standing. That's always a net positive, and on to our actual, rivals and other people who are in our side of the U.S. here. I've never held like some kind of affinity for San Jose as our natural rivals, as people like to say. So it was a nice win, but geographical rivals.
Our natural geographical rival.
That's right.
So on the upside of that, I guess we'll touch on this really quick. Any MLS? Well, actually, let's take a look at the updated standings really quick. So we have Cincinnati at the top, 1 point above Columbus, and second.
Crazy. We were just mocking them for being really far down, and shame. They went skyrocketing up there. I looked at that after the game. I could not believe that.
Oh my. Cincinnati at the top at 1, Columbus at 2, Philly and Charlotte round out 3 and 4. our good friends down in smack dab middle of Fort Lauderdale and
Pompano Beach.
yeah, thank you.
The Pompano Beach, Inner Pompano.
Miami at 5, Nashville 6, Orlando 7. You got New York and New York City, the Hudson River Derby on the outside looking in if playoffs were to start today. New England, Chicago, Atlanta, DC, Toronto, and our winless friends from the north,
Oof.
Montreal, rounding out the last 6.
The New England's got me surprised.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, they've been on a bit of a heater recently.
Yeah, and I was actually about to touch on that here in a second. Top 10 in the Supporter Shield, Vancouver, obviously doing really well. Up 2-1 on aggregates, down 1-0 in the second leg of the CONCACAF Champions Cup semifinal. Cincinnati at 2, Columbus at 3, Philly at 4, Charlotte 5, Miami 6, Portland at 7, Nashville 8. Our friends who we will never face here in Columbus, Austin at 9, and Orlando at 10. But back to our good friends Caleb. Back to our good friend Caleb Porter. Right, New England. My word, that is what 3 straight wins.
Mm-hmm.
My word, how what changed from the beginning of the year to now? And I hope one of you says yes, he has his house on FanDuel somewhere.
Hey, I haven't seen it on FanDuel yet.
I don't even know that joke. I don't even.
You don't know that?
No.
No.
I don't think I do.
No. Jerald, do you want to tell it? Or do you want me to?
I'll tell it.
Okay, thank you.
So in 22, getting it, towards the end of the year, people were saying, Columbus had a chance to get into the playoffs.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it was like the last 2 or 3 games, and Porter was like, I'll put my house up for sale if guaranteeing that we get into the playoffs.
Oh,
and it came down to decision day, where all we had to do was hold on to the win over Orlando.
Mm-hmm.
Derik Etienne scored the opening goal for Columbus. Orlando came back and scored 2 more goals and killed Columbus's playoff dreams. We only missed it by 2 points.
Not to mention a Milos Degenek own goal.
Yeah.
So that is where the running joke of Caleb Porter in his house comes in.
That is funny.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I loved Caleb Porter when he was here, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that was it was the most craziest thing ever. It's like, I bet my house that this team will make the playoffs, and we're like, okay, he means business, because we had missed it. We had missed it in 21
the year before,
and by like 1 point.
Yes.
And we had won the cup in 2020. So then it was just like, this team, we have the tools to get back to the playoffs. We're going to get back to the playoffs. And, I bet my house that we will make it to the playoffs. As soon as that, I think it was a penalty or something like that on Degenek. As soon as that, it was a handball. That's what it was. It was a handball on Milos Degenek that gave Orlando a penalty. And as soon as that happened, we're like,
it's over.
Well, there goes that. Yep.
Well,
and we
get the moving trucks ready.
We missed it by 1 point. But yeah, no, New England is on a tear.
Dude, now, do we know if any of their players have neck tattoos?
Carlos Hill.
There you go.
Maybe
that's why.
I think so.
Because remember, he was saying he wanted more players with neck tattoos.
Yeah, that's when Cucho came along.
But to say something about New England, though, he changed up his system from his predictable systems that he's run, the 3-5-2 or the 5-3-2 or 3-5-2, whatever, and then his 4-3-3. He turned into
4-3-3.
He turned into a 3-4-1-2
Wow.
and has went on a 3-game winning streak. So
Who says you can't teach an old dog new tricks?
Hey, I mean, blind squirrel finds a night every now and then, right? Any other scores kind of surprise you from the weekend? I mean, because I could probably look at
Nashville.
I was gonna say, didn't Nashville do something?
Oh my God, Nashville put an absolute I don't even know the correct term, but oh my God, yeah, 7-2 over the Chicago Fire.
That's right. That's what it was.
Teacher versus the apprentice. Berhalter versus BJ
Oh,
Callahan.
yeah, yikes!
I
didn't even put 2 and 2 together on that one.
Here's 2 for you, right? Miami blowing a 3-1 lead to FC Dallas. And then St. Louis blowing a 2-0 lead, or sorry, a 2-1 lead, while down to 10 men to LAFC.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I get it, it's LAFC, but like, you guys were so close. St. Louis was so close to winning their first matchup against LAFC, and Bouanga scored in like the 90+5.
That's a bit of a soul crusher. That'll rip the soul right out of your body right there, for sure.
That will.
Yeah.
And I also think what we're about to talk about here kind of ripped the souls out of Charlotte FC with that New England win, suffering their first home loss of the season. And to kind of segue into that, Charlotte comes on the road to Columbus off of a 1-0 loss against New England to a team who won 2-1 against San Jose Earthquakes. But we have Lee from Charlotte FC Fan TV. I've talked with Lee multiple times. Great guy he is. How are you, man?
I'm good. How you guys doing?
It's another day in paradise, you know. Sunny and very humid here in Columbus. I don't know about where you are.
Sunny, but I wouldn't say humid yet, but I guess that'd be like June, July, typically when it's sticky.
Fair enough. I guess the best thing to kick it off is, Crew Charlotte. This game never disappoints when these two teams meet up. Just coming from the Charlotte side of things, you get a tough loss against New England because of Matt Polster and whatnot. But just overall, what was the I guess the reasoning to like the goal standing? Because I think he was offside by like at least an inch and a half.
We talked about this last night on our live, and I guess it's just really the camera angles, right? To me, like at least from what I saw, he was onside and it was a goal. But if you listen to our coach Dean Smith, he was bitching about the forwards jumping into our defenders. The referees sort of incompetent. After our games, like when we do the fan interviews on the streets too, people are always bitching and complaining about the refs, but I tried to kill that off. But this last game, it was terrible. I mean, we had our chances early on for sure, and we just didn't finish. I mean, and so New England came in, they took their one chance and they scored, and then they just locked up shop and got in Zaha's head and everything else. So, kudos to them. They came in and did what they wanted to do, and they did exactly what their game plan was, while we sort of just bottled it, really. So,
yeah, looking at where's the stats at? Looking at the stats here, you guys absolutely dominated in the shots.
Yeah, we only have target though, right? So, you can shoot long if you're not putting them on target. What's the point?
Passing accuracy is off the wall. Possession, obviously Dean Smith does really well with possession with you guys, but was it just? That has to sting a little bit, right? You guys have made Bank of America Stadium, right?
Yeah, mm-hmm. The fortress, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, it has been an absolute fortress so far this year.
Yeah.
But now coming on the road to, I would say another place that has just been an absolute madhouse for the league, to Columbus. How do you expect the team to kind of turn around from that loss and come into Columbus and hand Columbus their second loss of the season?
Well, I mean, typically we're not a road team, right? So I was hoping when when we beat Montreal the other week on the road that sort of got the monkey off our back. But you guys are a solid team too, right? I mean, you sit second in the league for a reason, right? And I believe, if you start looking at stats and go down that part, you guys are on par to be where you are, right? And we sort of where we need to be, or where the stats show that we are. I'm hoping that with the loss at home, I think we had that was our first loss in 8 games at home, and so I'm hoping that means we're going to start a new streak on the road, because I think our next 9 games, 7 of them are on the road. So yeah, that's true, right? And so it is, right. I mean, I'm personally, last night when I don't know if you guys get into score predictions or if you want me to hold off on that, but last night we kind of did that at the end of our show, and I just don't see us winning this one, to be honest with you. I'd be lucky if we can, nick a point and keep going.
I know Jerald wants to ask this question
right.
about Zaha. So I'm gonna let him kind of ask that. Maybe there's something that maybe we don't know, and whatnot. So Jerald, if you want to ask that you've always been wanting to talk about today.
So first off, Lee, I know you gotta love those beauty cameras.
Yeah.
After we had our debacle with you guys, 23.
Mm-hmm.
But with this Wilfred Zaha, going over it and reading it a couple of times, who is he talking more so some of those fanatic fans that's talking on social medias, or and if it is, do you applaud players finally just stepping out and speaking on it?
Yeah, so me personally, I don't think it was directed at Shard FC, right? Because most of the fans here, at least if you stay off of Facebook, right? I mean, that place is just it's just a cesspool, right? But after the game, even on that loss, right? Nobody was really complaining about Zaha. So when he came out with that, to me, it was out of left field, at least from a Shard FC perspective. Now, talking about in Europe and over in Turkey, right? And then people just maybe are just slagging him off, right? Saying that his career's gone down in MLS. And after he was so frustrated that you saw during the game, it's possible that one of those comments just sort of he was like, F it, I'm going to just talk my piece. Personally, to answer your second question, I think players should just let that stuff go, right? Because all this did was add fuel to the fire. And so, I honestly don't think it was directed at Shard FC fans yet. I mean, I know some of them are starting to sort of start questioning him being here. But again, he really didn't have a preseason with us, right? He had a baby, he had to fly back to England, and he's probably only played 3 or 4 games with us, right? So to really come down from a Charlotte perspective, at least, right? I thought he was cooking the first 15, 20 minutes of the first half. And I thought, man, this is it. We're just going to light up New England. But for whatever reason, we didn't. And I feel like, to me, that was outside of the Charlotte area who he was talking to.
So do you think it was more or less like some of the ones that are sports fans that don't really understand, the game, and just, saying, oh, he's a superstar, he should be doing superstar things?
Yeah, I personally think it's probably a lot to do with, folks over in England that were either upset with him for leaving Crystal Palace, right, and then going to Turkey, and then he was supposed to revive, because to me he was a big fish in a small pond at Crystal Palace, right? He went to Man U, didn't really make it there. He carried Crystal Palace on his back. There's no doubt about that. And then he went to Turkey. And, for whatever reason, it didn't work out there. So then it's well, you come to the MLS, right? Now, folks outside the MLS the Euro snobs, if you will, right? Sort of gatekeep soccer. And, and everybody looks down on MLS. I mean, I'm originally from England. Until we had a team in Charlotte, I could give two shits about MLS, right? And now I'm in it and doing this sort of stuff. It's sort of like, it's got its quirks, right? But you sort of learn to accept it, and that's MLS, and that's what we love about MLS. So, I could just see those folks that were over in Europe that were kind of always trolling him, and somebody obviously put a comment out there that just sort of, how it is. Like some days you just pissed off, right? And you just go off on people. I mean, social media gets you if you're not careful.
Yeah, those discords will definitely get you.
Yeah.
Kind of to reel things in back to the game.
Yeah.
Player spotlights. Who besides Patrick Agyemang, right? Because that guy is I feel like he is you can't guard him. He's like a 6'7" LeBron James of MLS. But besides him, or if you want to say him also, who would the Columbus Crew need to kind of contain?
Definitely Pet Bill. He's on fire right now. And the concern for us here in Charlotte is he went off early. He's been complaining the last two games about like a tight hamstring. And then in preseason, he had like a knee injury. But without him, he's setting up the assists. He's scoring, and if we keep him in the middle up top there, I mean, that's the guy that he's pulling the strings for us right now, the puppet master, if you will. Mm-hmm. And the Agyemang, I mean, there's a big debate going on in Charlotte if he should be even starting, right? Personally, I think he's sort of, Aiden Takalakmi or whatever. I wish these guys just had last names like Smith or Frank or something, right? But they come out with these crazy ass names, and it's just hard to. But yeah, I mean, there's talk about like who should be starting, right? And is Agyemang, is he just getting these accolades because now he got called up for the men's national team, right? I don't see him being called up for the World Cup by any means. And then, of course, he scores. But then you have players that are good for their country and not for their club. So, it's we'll see. I mean, Agyemang is a beast. My only complaint with him really is his first touch. Like if we need him to hold up the ball, he doesn't seem to do that well. And then obviously making those runs into the box, right, when somebody's going to whip that ball in, right? So, but to answer your question, I think Pet Bill is more dangerous to me than what Agyemang is. Like if he doesn't start this week, man, we're definitely going to lose.
Who, Bill?
Pet Bill, yeah.
Okay. Derik?
Do you guys still have the one from Israel?
Abada?
Yeah.
So again, right? We paid like $8 million for him. I think he's our most expensive signing, and if you go look at the stats, right? He's up there in goals scored, I believe, but it's still early days in my opinion, right? You scored 2 goals in a game, right? That's going to jump you up in stats real quick here at this time of season. But I like to see more production out of him, like being more involved. He's, in my opinion, he doesn't help out on the defensive side. That's why you'll start seeing like, Dean Smith sub in Vargas towards the end of the game or the middle of the game, about the 60th, 70th minute. But yeah, I think Abada, if he's on, if he's on, he's on. But sometimes he just goes missing in games. So, and yeah.
Obviously, the matchups that we've had both in Charlotte and in Columbus are no shortage of the theatrics in one way or another. Yeah. What's been your most memorable one so far? Just there's a laundry list of things you can pick from that's happened in these games, but since you've been covering them, what's the most memorable thing between Columbus and Charlotte that you've seen so far?
That's a good question, and really it's not so much on the pitch or the one that has the most memories for me. It was when we had the rainstorm and it got canceled, and under there for 2 or 3 hours because they were like, if you leave, you can't come back, right? And it was just so good, and everybody's just packed in there. And then we, obviously I sit right in the supporter section where the drums are and everything. So those guys came out, and the next thing, it was just pounding beers, and then it's like, are you calling it or not, right? And I believe we needed a result out of that, right, to make the playoffs or that year. And I think, and I think they stopped it in the 17th minute or something crazy.
Yep.
And then I think, at the time Kristen Fuchs was playing for us and he ended up getting injured, so he couldn't start on the replay. And so I felt that kind of that hurt us a little bit. But yeah, just what we were doing while we were waiting for MLS either to call it or not, right? But knock on wood, man, we've been pretty lucky the last year or two with the thunderstorms. But you know how it is, right? They just show up and they just open up. So, but yeah, that was the best, just because there was a lot of friends there that are no longer with us that we just sat and we just cut up and had a lot of fun. So
we were in the press box.
Lucky you guys.
We were in the press box and we're like, I have no idea. But as of now, apparently there's a 50% chance of rain in Columbus on Saturday.
Yeah. It could rain or it could not, right?
Yeah, honestly. So obviously there's probably a lot of new Crew fans that have not seen Charlotte play yet, right? If they have, it's probably highlights. But for the first time, they're going to see the real Queen City for 90 minutes. For 90 minutes on Saturday. What kind of challenge do you think Charlotte would present to the Crew that would expose Crew fans to see Charlotte that would expose Crew fans to Charlotte FC for the first time?
Yeah, now Dean Smith's here. We've become defensively sound, right? We had the goalkeeper of the year last year, right? Our back line's pretty solid. We got Tim Ream, we got Malanda, we got Privet, and we just got a solid back line, and we got a couple of injuries, so we got somebody covering it on the right back for us, and but. Yeah, it's going to be hard to break us down, right? We're definitely not pushovers, but for some reason we just can't score or get that win on the road. So, it's going to be a good game. I think it's going to be a good matchup, right? In my opinion, it's a 6-pointer, right? If one of us happens to win, it's definitely going to put that gap between us. And these are the sort of games early in the season that count, though, come like September, right? So, yeah. Hopefully we can, like I said, I don't foresee us. I won't put money on us winning, but I would hope we can at least get a draw out of it.
Jerald, Derik?
Who is going to be, if you could pick one or two matchups for Saturday, who are the 1 to 2 matchups that we should, not only us, but everyone around the league should watch?
Yeah, I mean, at least from a Charlotte perspective, is it really going to, like, our midfield's, like, I've made fun of it most of the season. It's like we're like a donut, right? It's like essentially people are just playing straight through the middle. Like, we've got no center. But like last week, Westwood's stepped up, and he's that captain, right? Ashley Westwood, and he did well. If he plays well, and then again, it's really going to be again, maybe Zaha's got something to prove this week, right? And hopefully he lights up, right? Ajimana might have something to prove too, especially because, again, in Charlotte, there's a lot of rumblings about who should be starting right there as a striker. But yeah, I mean, it's just going to be if you guys can control the midfield, you guys are probably going to get us, right? But if we show up and like actually get stuck in and have a good game, maybe we'll do what New England did to us, right? We'll make it really chippy, start chirping and all that fun stuff. And but yeah, I mean, the midfield battle, right? I think is going to be where it's at.
This is a quick, broad question, but we obviously just came off of a game where we played up in Cleveland as a home game for the Crew. And I'm, curious as having a team that plays primarily in a football stadium, like as for home games, have you been to any away games that are like soccer specific stadiums? And what do you have, do you like one versus the other from an atmosphere perspective? Or do you notice a difference now that you're used to a little bit more playing in a football stadium versus a soccer specific one?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, every year I try to pick a new city to go to, right, that has a soccer-specific stadium. So, like last year, for instance, I went out to Austin. Our very first game was against DC United ever. Where else have I been? I've been to Nashville, right? So this year I'm going to Chicago. I know they don't have really a soccer specific stadium, but I was like, screw it. I was hoping we get San Diego away, but they came here to play us. So this year I picked Chicago because it's the middle of the summer and I was looking for cooler temperatures than down here in the South. But to your point, right? I guess it's a lot different. It's kind of hard to answer that question simply for the fact, they put us away fans up here way up here at the top.
Oh, yeah, good point.
Everything's happening behind the goal, right? So in Charlotte, I'm literally like, 10 rows up behind the goal in the supporter section. So like some of our fans bitch because they can't hear the chants or whatever. But, when you're in it, I mean, it sounds like, the whole stadium's doing it. So, I mean, we average about, I think the bottom bowl for Charlotte holds about 35,000 fans. And we typically, tickets sold, right? Whatever you want to call that. We have like 33,000, I think, so far average this year. But you can sort of, at least in Charlotte, start seeing that sort of the crowd dwindle. But, Charlotte's the only team that's winning and making playoffs, right? The Panthers ain't doing it. The Hornets ain't doing it, right? Canes all the way out there in Raleigh, which is like, a good 3 hours from here. So, it's, yeah, I don't know. I would prefer a soccer specific stadium, but, unfortunately we have to let the Panthers play in that stadium.
Unfortunately. Well, I'll tell you about is it the Poznan?
Yeah,
that's so cool. I love that.
It's so much fun, and the reason we started out was because our very first, players that we had 3 Polish guys, right? And so we just kind of did that for them, and it just took off around the stadium. That and the national anthem is really cool.
Yeah. Oh, I do love the national anthem, which is dope. All right. So great insight on the Charlotte end because I've watched a little bit of you guys, but not really like too much.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
you just get overwhelmed with it all.
Oh yeah, for sure. But now you brought up earlier prediction time, right? Mm-hmm. So we'll go around the horn. We'll start with you, Lee, Derik, Jerald, and with me. So Lee, what you got?
Yeah, so going off of what I said last night, I think we lose 2-1.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's very. I thought you were going to go draw. You were talking about. You hope you get a point out of this.
I'm saying I hope we get one, but again, just going off of our history of road games, I feel like, and you guys are cooking right now too, right? So, again, if we can get a draw or win, great. But I think if you're really asking me, we're going to lose 2-1.
Right, Derik.
Yeah, I was going to say 2-1 also. I could easily see it being like a 2-2 for sure, just because of the craziness of these games and like weather or
referees,
a camera being in a weird spot, whatever it may be. There's always something, right, that we're inevitably going to have happen. So I'm going to say 2-1, but I would not be shocked at like a 2-2 by any means.
Yeah.
We don't have no beauty cameras here at our stadium.
That we know of yet.
What'd
you say, Jerald? 3-0.
3-0?
Oh, that's a reach.
Look at that, man. That's a stretch.
That's a reach. If really quick, Lee, if there's one thing you should know about Jerald and his predictions is that he goes bold, right? So no, like it could be, we could talk about how great an opponent is. I'm gonna go 5-1 Columbus. Okay.
Well, let me ask you this: to that point, right? I mean, is he typically right? Please say no.
You did get one right the other week. I don't remember what it was. There was something that you had like either right or very close.
Yeah, I forget.
Oh, Pro's website is currently down for maintenance. Sick. I was trying to see who the match officials were, but I don't know.
Usually I am like somewhat close with my predictions.
Yeah.
But I just see, Columbus is tough at home.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But like so are we, and we lost to New England, so
that's true.
And if I'm not wrong, Columbus has not beaten Charlotte since Charlotte came into MLS.
Is that true?
It's
at
either,
home
it's
or
either
in
been
general?
in general, it's either been a draw or a loss.
Whoa. Okay. Well,
Dang. East Columbus has not beaten Charlotte?
Correct. Since Charlotte came into the league, Columbus has not beaten Charlotte. It's either been a draw or a loss.
we've only played in league play, I think, right? We've never played in any other tournament or anything that I can think of.
So starting in 2002, or sorry, 2022, my word. We have 1-1, 2-2, 1-0, 4-2 Columbus in 2023. 2-0 Charlotte, 1-1, and that's it. So according to FB Ref, Columbus has beaten Charlotte one time, 4-2.
Okay.
At lower.com.
That's why I said I didn't say for sure, but I just, I could have swore that it was Charlotte, Columbus hasn't beaten Charlotte. So there was that one, 1-0 loss or 1-0 win. So
1-0, yeah, for Charlotte. Yeah. Charlotte has 2 wins against Columbus. So I mean, given history.
Yeah, no clean sheets are apparently, so that's kind of goals to be had, I guess.
Yeah. We beat them 1-0 in 2022 at home. 2022, I only see 1-1 and 2-2. I'm going to go 1-0, and I feel like it's going to be one of the most obscure players for Columbus to score a goal. It's probably going to be like Amundsen that scores a goal, right? But it's going to be like super late, right? I'm going to sit there. I'm going to have my recap ready to hit publish. My ending is going to be done for, and then Amundsen's going to score on like the 90+3, and I'm going to have to rewrite the entire thing. So
You just hit delete.
scratch it.
It's going to be a keeper goal.
Oh my! Right. But no, I kind of agree with Lee. Like, I think the midfield battle is going to be very, very intense, right? Nagby, oh crap, who else is in Dylan, Shambo. I think, I mean, Nagby's the most fouled player, so obviously when he's on the ball, Charlotte's going to want to get that ball from him, right? Because he likes to dictate play. That's one thing that he loves to do. But I think that midfield battle is going to be rough for both teams. So I think a 1-0 win. I might even go on a stretch to go 1-1 draw. Honestly, I do think Charlotte gets a goal. If I'm going 1-1, so I don't know. That's just me though. So
I stick with my 3-0.
3-0. So we got 2. Did you say 2-1, Lee, or
2-1?
2-1. Derik, you said
2-1 also.
2-1, 3-1, 1-0. All right, so we should really keep track of like the scores and whatnot.
Yeah, we were actually talking about on our show, like just to do like a league, right, of results and see who wins.
Who's actually good at predicting these things?
Yeah, definitely. Jerald, Derik, anything else for Lee?
No, just
have you come up here before, Lee? Have you been to a game up here?
No, no. I've been Cincinnati. I'll come up there. I've probably next season. This probably would be my away game because they give us those They have a program. I don't know if you guys have it where it's like up and away where they'll cover our tickets for us.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so depending on how many season tickets you have, right? That's how many you can get, but you can only get it for one game. So this year I picked Chicago. Probably pick you guys, depending on when we play you guys. If it's too early in the season away, probably not.
Yeah. This weekend's like high of 50 and, 50% chance of rain. So you don't want to come up here.
We're over here just sitting on 75, 80 degrees right now.
Keep that down there.
No, screw Arsenal. Screw Arsenal. You didn't win the league. You're not winning the Champions League. Come on, you Spurs. Come on, you Spurs. Screw you, Dixon, man.
Lee, thank you so much for popping on. Hopefully we get you on again on the return leg to Charlotte. Where can the fans of the Wisemen Say podcast find you at?
Yeah, we're on everything on socials at CLTFC Fan TV. If you love good banter, follow me on Twitter. Follow us on Twitter. I'll give it back. It's just as good as you give it. So, yeah. So, what do we call Tottenham? The Kings of Europe this year. That's right. Come on. We own, man.
Lee, thank you so much for popping in. Hopefully it's a good game on Saturday, just in our favor. But nonetheless, I'm looking forward to seeing you guys in the playoffs this year. And yeah, man, thanks for stopping in.
Thanks,
Of course,
Lee.
man. Having it. Yeah, nice meeting you guys. Take care.
See ya.
All right.
So really quick for the Columbus side of things, Jerald and Derik, what are we thinking, right? Obviously, we have the tools to get the win, right? But given the knowledge that Lee dropped just now, are we still confident in the win, or are we wanting to make adjustments, changes to the lineup? What are we thinking?
I was honestly going to go 2-2 at first.
Yeah.
And the more that just because, you watch the league and our team long enough, some of these teams come in or you go there and it's going to be a bit of chaos. And Charlotte and the Crew are no shortage of that, like we were talking about earlier. But I felt like then, as he was talking about it, like having that everybody's kind of been able to have success going through the middle. And I know it's typically not necessarily what we tend to do. We tend to try to stretch east and west a little bit more in terms of getting passes around, different things like that. But I feel like our midfield is pretty strong. So that made me a little more confident in that. So I think if we could find a way to get it to that point, and obviously getting the ball to Nagby and letting him kind of be the field general is crucial to that. But as he was kind of bringing that type of stuff up as like some of his analysis, I was like, you know what? I think we can win this game. And as we were talking way before that, you said the Philadelphia away game, and I don't know why, but that just makes me feel like that's going to be a draw for sure. So I was like, I don't see us doing 2 draws in a row necessarily, even though we've kind of already done that at this point in the season. But those are the types of things that are kind of creeping my head as he was talking about some of the tactical breakdown of their team so far.
Jerald?
What was the question?
Given what Lee told us about Charlotte, are we still confident? Do we make any changes to the lineup? How does Wilfred Nancy go about this?
Keep the same lineup.
Mm-hmm.
Keep the same lineup. That's all. Honestly, that's all you need to do. Like, you've been playing the best soccer so far this year. You're still tops in goal for and also goal differential. You lead. I think you lead you're in the top 5 maybe of passes. Passes completed. So I mean, you got a defender that leads with touches. So I mean, yeah, I don't know if he's leading anymore, but you had a defender leading the league in touches for a while this year. So I mean, I honestly, I think Yevon does start. I think that's the only change up.
Yeah,
is Yevon starts, and that way you give Dylan a chance to rest. Or even if Yevon does start, he's playing. He's playing out on the left with Sean there in the middle. And still be able to have Dylan out there alongside with, Nagby. And I think with Mo and Max and Jason, Diego, and Daniel, I think that's the lineup that it goes against Charlotte to start the game. Now, I think Ibrahim, does come in the second half maybe one of the late subs. But then again, it's all how Nancy sees it when he's down there on the down there, watching everything. So I mean,
Miami's out. Miami's out.
Amazing.
Oh,
hey,
man,
MLS,
sorry.
MLS gets a team in the CONCACAF finals. So,
My word.
They're just happy about that. Well, probably not really, because if it's not Miami, they probably care a little less.
Yeah,
but
no. It's especially now. Let's also talk about it. This is a Canadian team, by the way.
Oh yeah,
This is a Canadian team, by the way. So I mean, if it's one thing if MLS is mad because it's not Miami, it's another thing if MLS is mad because it's an MLS team that's Canadian.
yeah,
and not Toronto, they're crown jewel of the Canadian teams.
No, not at all. Sorry,
Can we talk
Jerald.
real quick about
didn't want to interrupt you.
Ibrahim, and how when we got that trade, or that, however they're referring to it as, I saw a lot of the Houston fans were happy about it, and we're kind of crapping on us for getting him. And I'll be the first to admit I don't know a lot about him in general, but I just want to see if either of you had any thoughts on him in general and why maybe they were happy to jettison him out of there, whereas we were happy to get him. I mean, not happy, the front office, not necessarily the fans.
he didn't fit their system.
Mm.
Yeah, he scored 6 goals last year. Hasn't really had too much production this year, but it just, with the changing of the system that they have, they got rid of Coco, they got rid of Hector.
Yeah.
I mean, Artur is still there, but he just doesn't, Ibrahim just doesn't fit the system now, with what they're trying to do, and giving them, an international slot plus cash. I'll take it. That just means we have Gams still to play around with for the summer.
Yeah.
So I didn't get a chance to go to media today. I had, a couple doctor's appointments, but I'll try to be there tomorrow.
Have they let him talk to the media yet?
No.
Mm-mm. I think the biggest thing with him, though, is the fact that he is a forward, and I'm pretty sure they played him out of position a little bit in Houston. Ben Olsen played him a little bit out of position, right? He's a forward, but he's more of a 7 or an 11 and not a 9, right? He's more of a winger than he is a striker, right? Okay. And they played him at striker, where 6 goals is at least a benchmark for your first time in the league. But when you're playing out of position, right, it's kind of hard.
Yeah.
So I think that's why Columbus brought him in to play that wing back style, so he's more comfortable and service towards Jason, Daniel, Diego until we get a 9 this summer. That will be on the end of that to complement the service that he'll get from that left-hand side. So other than that, I mean, let's beat Charlotte this week and hopefully get some 3 points.
That would be nice.
Any final thoughts, fellas, before I drink to the happiness that is Miami getting eliminated from the CONCACAF Championship?
I don't think I have anything.
Nothing? All right. We want to thank you guys for tuning in. If you guys have watched us here live on YouTube, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button, turn on post notifications bell so you guys get notified whenever we post new content. If you guys are listening to us on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, iHeart, Overcast, Pocket Cast, thank you guys for listening all the way to the end. be sure to leave a rating, comment on our show. You guys can follow us on social media, Instagram, at the Wisemen Say Podcast, here on YouTube at the Wisemen Say Podcast. You guys can follow us on Twitter at Wisemen Pod. You guys can also watch us on Goals TV at the Wisemen Say Podcast. You guys can follow Derik on social media
at Funky Moses 17.
You guys can follow Jerald on social media
at Jerald_Lucas96.
And you guys can follow me on social media at Fisher_Tyler__. We want to thank you again for tuning in. Stay safe. Stay, Joe, my friend. As tradition goes, Wisemen say,
only fools rush in.
Peace out, everybody. Have a good week. Stay safe. Stay cool. Stay hydrated. Hug your loved ones. Go Crew.
Stay wise, y'all.